Welcome everybody to my channel. Today's pick a card reading is all about your career and finances from the beginning of October 2021 through to the end of December 2021. So the last quarter of calendar year 2021, giving a 3-month radius to give enough time for issues in the career and finance area to start to manifest and be leveraged in whatever way the advice for this reading gives to you from Spirit. So as always, it's pretty self-explanatory, I think, in terms of what the topic is. I don't think I need to go into a lot of detail about that. But as always, the important thing is to choose the right reading. So to help with that, I have a red jasper crystal on pile 1, a jade on pile 2, and a black obsidian on pile 3. That might help you tune in. You may feel drawn to more than one pile, and as I always say, that's fine. Look at 2 readings if that's the case. These are collective readings, so you may find that 70% of one reading fits your situation and 30% of another, for instance. That can happen with general collective readings. What I'm also going to do to help with this, if you're not really sure, if you're not drawn to one and you're absolutely certain that it's the right one, is that the first part of the reading will be using oracle cards to look at the nature of the career energies and finance area issues around. And if that doesn't connect for you, then that may be an indication that another pile that you were possibly partly drawn to as well might be the right one. So I'm hoping to help you really determine whether you've got the right reading early in the piece rather than sort of later in the piece. So with that said, you may need to pause the video and contemplate the options before choosing, but when you know which pile or piles you want to go to, the timestamps as always are in the description box below, and I'll see you in the reading. Welcome pile 1 to your reading. As I said in the introduction, these oracle cards were amongst a number of intuitively chosen pre-selected oracle cards. We'll look at the others later in the reading. These ones in particular are to give a bit of a snapshot about where you are right now, what you're moving into, or what you can expect in the early part of that 3-month period from October through to the end of December. To give a sense about, is this, excuse me, the right reading that you've come to? Does this resonate and so forth? And if so, then we can sort of move through the rest for you. Otherwise, you may want to check out this section of other readings. And I think there's a couple of things around this that will help you know whether this is right, you've come to the right reading. The first is that on either side we have something that suggests you either have just experienced or something is coming up, and I think you would almost have a sixth sense about this, even though it says unexpected, around some sort of financial restriction or loss. In both of these cards, it does say that you can control the outcome of that, you can work towards the best outcome possible, you can move through it. And there's certainly a sense here in the middle that you have the leadership ability, the strength to deal with that. And that part of this change might require you to step into a leadership role in one way or another, whether that's within your workplace, whether it's in a business that you're running, whether it's in your family to deal with changes and so forth. But there's definitely a sense of impending financial restriction. Having said that, there's also a sense that you have a very strong foundation, that you're someone who has planned for these sort of things. You could literally work in real estate, in property in some way, or have investments in that. Some of you may be dealing with issues around that. It might be fluctuations around the real estate market if you have property and that's part of what you do, or you work in property or construction or any of those sorts of things. Again, I go back to the sense where it says this can be dealt with head on. You can still control the outcome of whatever happens, but it does look to me as though you have been dealing with some form of loss, or you have a sense that it could be coming. Now, if it's only a sense that it's coming, there is always the capacity through your leadership and through looking at the foundations and the basics of what you do that you can actually withstand that and stop the loss from occurring. But there's definitely a sense that you will be able to lead your way out of that. And as I say, that you have the foundations. The other key potential area around this that you might be involved in your career might be picked up by beauty here. So some of the people who've come to this may be involved in the beauty industry in one form or another. And again, you may have been dealing with issues if you, for instance, and it's just an example, were a hairdresser and you were somewhere where there was the pandemic lockdown that had made it difficult to get clients and so forth in the usual rate. It may well be your capacity to go back to basics and work out other ways to get that sort of service to your clients and to keep that connection is what's going to take you through that. So that's an example of the beauty industry. If you're not in the beauty industry, it may be the balance of the foundations and the sense of what's unique about you that can actually help you mitigate this. But whatever it is, Pile 1, I don't want to sugarcoat it, there is financial restriction, financial loss. I don't feel for most of you that it is major, because I do think that most of you have been able to put the things in place that you need to do, but it is there as a possibility. And as I say, for some of you, literally, this may be about property, real estate, the fluctuations in the market. Many of the people who've come to this reading, and it's the right reading for them, are in some form of leadership role or will need to step up in a leadership role. I'm getting that for some of you, this loss that you've gone through may feel like it's something bad, but then it allows you to take a leadership role. So you could be in an organisation where there has been a reorganisation, for instance, that made you feel that some of your career options were limited, but in actual fact, you'll find that you can move into a leadership role that it will actually turn around because of your unique talents and the way that you can present yourself and the fact that you get the foundations right. So the people here, the energy between October and December is either very early in the piece, there is going to be some financial restriction, or you've just experienced it and it was surprising, but you're working through it. But the overarching sense is that you can take a leadership role in one form or another to move through this and to deal with it in the most positive way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the business class tarot, and we're going to ask firstly for some energy around this period of time, particularly with those issues, and that obviously wanted to come out. So that down there. About the energies that are around, and asking Spirit for the sense of what you're going through over this 3-month period. It might also help us get a sense about whether the loss has already occurred or whether it's something that you need to be able to prepare for so that you can deal with it. Okay, so I think this is saying that you have probably, for most of you, you have experienced some of this loss already, because we have Money 5, which is like Pentacles. The 5 of Pentacles is a sense of some financial restriction, some financial loss. Some of my Pile 1 may not have been in a job for a while. There's a possibility that you've been in that sort of situation, and then the unexpected sort of thing might be something that you've learnt out of that takes you a leadership role and gets you a role, because the rest of this actually looks very positive. It does look like something here with product 9, this is like the 9 of Wands. In an organisational sense, in this particular deck, it talks about products because that's the lifeblood, the energy, the presence, and so forth of an organisation. So thinking of it in an organisational sense, it is having the capacity with the 9 of Wands or the 9 of product to keep on keeping on when there has maybe been some difficulties. So again, I feel like most of you, if this is the right reading for you, this has been a time you're coming probably out of a time of loss and difficulty and the surprise involved in it. There may still be some aftershocks, Pile 1, because with unexpected there may still be areas in what you're doing, whether it's in a business of your own, whether you're in an organisation, whether it's in the real estate market, whatever it might be, where you actually need to just keep on course because things are not yet completely moving through. It may be during this 3-month period of time that you are moving slowly and surely towards something better and towards leading your way out of this, but there's still like aftershocks. That's what that feels like. It feels like you think you've got something right and then something else comes along that's a little bit out of left field and you have to deal with that and keep on keeping on. Now, the interesting thing is here, we have 3 major arcana cards. The wave is like the Wheel of Fortune. So that very much says that there is almost a sense of fate or destiny around this. But the fact that it's upright and is connected to these cards, I feel is saying that you can ride this wave. I mean, that actually looks like a tsunami to some extent, that people are actually riding the wave of the tsunami. So I think that this is saying that something unique about you, something that is very clear and beautiful and balanced about you, helps you ride that with dexterity. There are legal issues around this. So if this is a business, then there are legal issues to deal with, and there are strategic issues to deal with, because this is like justice, and this is around strategy, and this is around your inner being, because it connects to the Hermit card. So it connects to that sense of what is the reason for being. So to me, this suggests that out of something that hasn't quite worked, but which still has merit. It's just a matter of kind of refining it, getting back to the basics with the real estate, getting it into balance. There is a leadership role for you. Certainly, if you haven't been in a job, this suggests you are likely to get a contract or get a job. But I think the reason for it is there's something about your values, there's something about your sense about whatever this career is, whatever this business is, that is going to take it through difficult times, is going to ride the wave rather than having the wave overwhelm. So there is definitely a sense here, pile one, of not an easy time, but a time where out of this you get refined and you rise up yourself in some way. So if it's in your own business, you will need to get back to basics and what you were really doing in the first place, and you will need to be ready for and have the foundations for some still to come shocks around it. But I don't think there is major. I think the worst is over by the looks of things. But you do need to feel that you're riding the wave and that this is working for you, rather than that you're caught and hostage to fate. So let's ask Spirit for some clarifying energy for each of those cards, and any advice they have for you about how to do this, how to turn this difficult energy, because there is difficult energy here, around so that it becomes something that works for you. Okay, so don't freak out on seeing bankruptcy there. I don't think that's what we're talking about. I think that in fact it's the fear of is this really worth doing? Is this career really working, or whatever there? Because this card is not necessarily saying that in the context of those. It's just that there is a fear of that comes from what is actually unexpected. So I don't think that most of my pile one, if any of you, will go through something like that. But I think that it is, again, getting back to the foundations that you need to look at. This is telling me there's something that you need to look at in terms of data, because data here is like swords. So this is telling me that there is information that possibly you haven't been accessing, or that actually hasn't been well structured or well connected to the requirements, both legally and also in terms of the mission statement of whatever your career is. So this is saying that you need more information, that you need to look at whether or not the information that's coming that fits with what you're really trying to do, the mission statement of the organisation and its foundations. I'm getting for some of you, because the data assistant is like the Page of Swords and the Page of Swords reversed, that some of you may be involved in business or work in something where there is a lot of sort of social media or online sort of presence. And what I feel that is saying is that in some cases what might be happening here, and why we're almost getting a drain on resources and energy, which is what I think the bankruptcy is suggesting, I think that what it's saying is that you're not necessarily focusing that energy and focusing the information in the right way. So I do get the sense that for most of you, you're in your own business. Now, if you're in a career, then there's a lot of fear around the organisation you're in, and there's a lot of fuzziness about whether the information is being used in the right way. Literally, in some organisations, if you're in a career around IT, there could be something outdated or something that's not really foundationally working around data and information in general. The good news is we've got data 10, which is like the 10 of swords reversed. And that always suggests to me that the drama and energy around this is now dissipating. So again, I get the sense that the worst is done, but there's still these aftershocks. And because there's a lot of fear associated with this, it's really important to get the data right, to not have it work against you. This is suggesting here with data, again, like this is the Five of Swords, that again, the Five of Swords gives an energy to me of the worst is over, but there are losses that have to be accepted, worked through and understood. And that's the bit that Spirit is saying, like really understanding that, and you understanding that takes you to this leadership position. With money 7, so that's the 7 of Pentacles reversed, there is something here. There is something here that is not returning what you wanted it to return. This is the combination of these two together suggests that there's something that the business is doing, or you're in your career, or something the organization you're in is doing. Or even literally, if you have a portfolio of real estate, and this is what this is about, some of what you have is not giving the return that you need. And it may well be, if this is actually career and finance for someone who has say a real estate portfolio or some sort of shared portfolio, you don't have to be concerned to that degree, but you do need to understand about putting the energy in where it is going to have a return and letting go of where it isn't. So, and I'm getting a sense for some of you, it might be somewhat unusual. It may be that the thing that you thought was the most stable is the least stable, and the thing that you thought that was the least stable is the most, if that makes sense. So really get the data and really look at it if that's the case. There is definitely a sense here that you mitigate the loss by moving away from what is no longer working, that the Wheel of Fortune therefore would work for you to bring you more into balance. There's some legal sort of issues or contractual issues around this, but there's an opportunity for you to lead. If you go back to first principles about what you're doing, but there's something wrong around the data and it's creating this ripple effect and it's creating the fear. So it's very important not to sit in that fear, not to feel that everything is now over. This is an opportunity to change and refine what you're doing. But yeah, it's hanging in the balance. So this is tricky energy, I have to say, pile 1. But I do think that if you understand how to connect those things, connect what you fundamentally were trying to do with your career or your business. And if you're in an organisation that looks like that's going on, it may well be time to move on because you have opportunities elsewhere. You have a lot more to give elsewhere. But I do feel most of the people here, it's you're in your own business, or it's a real estate portfolio, or it's something much more about finances in a way. The career stuff becomes almost the after event to that, the leadership and so forth. How you manage this, how you ride this wave is actually going to be very good for you, but it's not losing your head when everybody else is getting worried around you, and it's keeping on when it's necessary and letting go when it's not. So that's interesting. So let's have a look at the oracle cards that were also under the crystal. So this is sort of like general oracle cards. We're then going to have a look at a fortune, more like a fortune deck, and then I'm going to finish off with a deck that's not dissimilar to this, but has some additional information about the closing out of that period of time, having gone through it. So firstly, let's see what advice Spirit is giving you around this. Okay, so firstly we have Sacred Sisterhood, and says connect with your soul sisters to uplift and inspire each other. So this may be picking up the leadership, and this may be picking up, as I said, that keeping your head when everybody else around you is sort of getting really tense and upset. You may need, and this may be also the beauty, that sort of connection there. And when we're talking about sisterhood, it's not gender-based. You don't have to be a female for that, but it's that sense of connectedness. That may be your key leadership role in this, in whatever it is. And I do get with some of you, it's sort of like a broader family thing. So literally connecting with family members and being the leader and taking something through. But there's certainly a sense that don't isolate yourself. Don't feel like if you have to take a leadership role in some way that you're on your own. You're not on your own. That could exhaust you and take you into that sort of more hyperbolic state of mind. You need to be in this very considered state of mind, looking at what to do, and connecting with others will help you with that. We've also got the waxing crescent moon, and that's initiative and making a wish and making a plan. And it's interesting that it fell with the real estate area and with the mission statement. The thing about the real estate card, if it's not literally about real estate for you, that energy is about having the foundations and having the plan. So I think that Spirit is very much saying that there are things coming that connect with what you've been dealing with before. As I say, I keep getting the sense of aftershocks. But if you have gone back to first principles and you've worked out the data and you've learnt from it, you will be able to divest what isn't working and move forward and avoid this sort of sense of it's too much, I'm giving up just at the last minute. You don't need to give up. You can take your way through this. But it is understanding it, wishing and bringing the manifestation through by having a plan as well. Let's have a look at astrology energy around you. Okay, so firstly we have opposition, and that I'm not surprised because there is an energy of tension in this. As I say, I can't sugarcoat it. There is tension around this. There are things that you need to work out, and how major that is in your life, it's going to depend on each individual who comes here. We will have a look at and work out what planetary energy is in opposition to give you that sense and a bit more information. But we've also got Scorpio, and that's interesting because that connects to that card. That connects to the death sort of energy, the change, the choice card and so forth, where things need to be released to then move into something new. So Scorpionic energy, the energy of transformation, the energy of Pluto, which when harnessed is a major leadership and empowerment energy, is there for you. It also suggests that you will have a very good psychic instinct about things. Your gut instinct will be very good. You will be able to look at this. This is one of the reasons I think that you could take a leadership role around this if it is around other people as well, because you are prepared to look at the darker energies. You are prepared to look at the worst case scenario and then plan the way to get out of it. Some people, when confronted with that degree of unexpected energy, that sort of sense of being hostage to fate that the Wheel of Fortune can give, will stick their head in the sand and just hope that it doesn't hit them. But those like you who can look into the depths of it have a much better chance to be able to make the calculations and get the information to move through it. So let's have a look. I'll just shuffle the cards, and then I'm going to deal out till I get a couple of planetary or asteroid type energies to get a sense about what this opposition energy is. We've got Neptune. Neptune and Mercury. Okay. So that's, again, see, there is a sense around this, pile one, of there's almost a little bit of hysteria around this. And I don't think it's you. I think, as I say, you're going to rise through this because you can look at things through data and in a much more sort of grounded way. But there is energy around you. It could just be in the industry you're in. It could be your family and friends. It could be people, co-workers or whatever. Neptune is a planet where things aren't clear. Mercury is a planet where we think things through and we communicate. When they're in opposition to each other, what you're dealing with here in dealing with the change is your wish to think, work it through and sort it out and communicate what needs to be done is in opposition to the lack of clarity, the lack of information, which has been an issue. So you can certainly ferret that out and do something with it. But I think also other people around this, and the feeling too, I think, where Mercury and Neptune are in opposition, Neptune can also be the ideal. So this picks up this, manifestation, making a wish. But I think what it's also suggesting is that you have more manifestation ability than you think. But what happens is that you tend to go into believing only what is very material in front of you and not believing that you can do this. So I think that Spirit is trying to say, get that back in balance. Like have just as much faith in your data, but just as much faith also in the capacity to wish and bring the ideal in. If you can get it in balance when they're in opposition as opposed to working against each other, then you will move more quickly into this space. It's use both of it. Use the Scorpio gut instinct and the waxing crescent moon sort of manifestation ability with the capacity to think, get the data and so forth. So it's a very strong, clear picture that's coming up here that you are in a difficult time, but you are the right person to work through that difficult time. You just have to believe in that and believe in yourself and be prepared to make the changes. So I want to use the Lenormand deck, which is more like a classic fortune deck. And so I'm just going to get a few cards from that, and then we will finish up, as I say, with the closing out career and finance energies at the end of this period. But this is just another sort of sense about what, in terms of fortune, is impacting on you. Okay, for a start, we have house. So again, I feel some of you may literally be in real estate, may literally have portfolio, might have that kind of investment, or it may be suggesting it's a very good investment to be looking at. Once you've sort of come through this, think about those sort of really solid long-term investments. That may be suggesting that. Spirit might be saying, look at that. House can also be about where we feel secure. So it is saying there's some stagnancy with the coffin card there. So it's not, coffin in Lenormand is not like death, it's not that sort of thing. It's more like stagnant or stuck situations. And book means that there's more information that you need. So this is saying the same thing. It's saying that you'll remain stuck till you've got the information you need. Once you have the information you need, you can then look at what's solid and longer term. It's how you can make those decisions. Think like a real estate agent, even if you aren't one. Think about the long term and where to put your material energy. And that helps bring that in, and it helps move out of that feeling of being stuck. But I do think in a way that's a protection for you. I think that Spirit is saying that you in a sense have almost been held stuck in a situation till you get the information, and understanding that then allows you to move forward. So whatever loss you've been going through, to some degree it was necessary until you got the information to sort this through and rise like a phoenix rather than go into the sort of despair sort of energy around that card, because you don't have to go into that. You just need to get the information and then get a more solid grounding. So pile one, let's finish up with another oracle that, as I say, is not dissimilar in a way to this one. It has sort of career and finance energies, but I just wanted to use a different one to close out and get a similar sort of number of cards just to sort of see where at the end of this period, once you've been through it, and particularly if you've taken Spirit's advice and really looked at the information, tried to be dispassionate, took a leadership role in whatever way that makes sense to you, to work out what to keep moving on with and what to let go. Where are you placed at the end of December? And do bear in mind that if some of these things are fairly major, it takes a little bit longer usually than 3 months to fully go through that process. But let's ask Spirit how to close out the reading about the energies at the end of the year for you. Okay, so it's interesting we've got coffin twice. I think this is saying, it is reflecting that there were still things where you're working out what was good investments and what were bad investments at that time. And so there is, and for some of you it could be, as we said at the beginning, that you could have just left a job, or you could leave a job in this period of time. If that's the case, it's moving on, you've got the information that you need. But there is definitely a sense, pile one, that something has not been returning its investment. But once you realise that, you then have wings rising above money issues, business taking off, profit, and so forth. So I think that is saying once you've let go of what isn't working, you rise. We have rose, which is financial relief, being content, loving care. So that gives me that sense with some of you that there's family around this potentially. But certainly there is a real sense of relief and that kind of nice sense from the house. The moon has fleeting funds, unknown source, and being guided. So I think this is picking up in this period of time that you're still been sorting out. You won't have fully sorted out everything. I think you'll have dealt with the big stuff, but you won't have really sorted out, some of the energy that's coming to you, some of the things that might help are going to be lasting and some aren't, and you need to move with that fluctuation. But the beauty is it says you have money skills. You actually have the capacity to be an investor, take risks, and so forth. So whatever it is that you do, you have those basic skills, pile one. Whether you're in just a day-to-day office job career, which is possible around the coffin energy here, office work, night shift, and so forth, or whether you are in real estate, or whether you're running your own business, or whatever it is, you actually have money skills. That's why this situation is going to bring out some of your leadership, and you're going to be able to understand that about yourself. And I think for many of you, you may not have done that. But it's the same message over and over. There are some things in your career and finances that are not working for you. You are going to sort most of that out by really getting the right information in this period of time. When you do that, you're really going to take off and understand something about yourself. But it doesn't mean that there aren't still some aftershocks, and it's remaining faithful to yourself and keeping the faith in yourself around that will help you. Now, in terms of career energy coming off this at the end, as I said, some of you may well be in office work or something along those lines, but I think that if that's the case, you're going to move up the ladder, or you're going to understand that there's more that you can do. Some of you may be in spiritual work or have a mission. And remember, we had the mission statement. We had the hermit under there. So some of you may literally move into or use your capacity with spirituality around this. Some of you may be in a supportive role. Certainly this says job security. So I think that if you leave one role, you're moving into something that's going to last. The moon has odd jobs, night shift or whatever. So it is picking that up twice. Maybe some of the people here do night shift or odd hours or whatever and so forth as well. This is just a possibility to sort of say, yes, I can relate to that. And then some of you, as I say, because I do get a sense of business around this, could be self-made. You know, you really build your reputation as a basis of this. So I think there's a very broad spectrum of people for this reading, and how this operates will depend upon whether you're in a career, in an organisation, running your own business, share, investor, real estate, tycoon, whatever it might be. But the thing that's in common is that you've been going through difficulty. There's still some aftershocks to go through, but you've learnt about getting information, making decisions. And I think what you also need to learn, and I don't think you've really understood this about yourself, is how much when you use that energy, you can create the foundations and the wealth and the manifestation that you are craving. So I think it's not an easy time, pile one, but I don't think it's a catastrophic one by any means. And I think that you have all that you need to do something with this. This is sort of one of those classic something, you know, with the Wheel of Fortune under there is being done for you rather than being done to you, though at sometimes you may be feeling like, you know, things aren't working out and so forth. And I'm not surprised at energy like this, particularly for those in, say, small to medium-sized business coming off the pandemic. It has been a difficult time, but this does feel like it's the main stuff is done and we're just in the aftershock. So I hope that that is ultimately a positive message for you, because I think ultimately it is. And I hope that it does resonate for you and you enjoyed the reading, albeit that it's not the easiest message to have. If so, please like the video and subscribe. And if this does resonate, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. I particularly love to hear about how you're now using your understanding of yourself and information around you to rise above this, because I think that is the promise of this reading. So pile one, beyond that, I wish you well and I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome pile two to your reading. As I said in the introduction, this first oracle, which was under the crystal that you chose to come here, is meant to give a sense about the type of career, energy, industries, approaches, personality, characteristics and so forth, and also anything around the financial scenario that you're experiencing as you come into this period of time, to help make sure that you've found the right pile, that this is the right reading for you. So it was under the crystal, as were some other oracle cards down here that we'll look at a little bit later, and then we'll also of course do tarot and so forth in this reading. So this is interesting. I think there's a number of different types of career that this could potentially be showing. It's everything from being in the sort of theatrical, dramatic or performance arts in some way, to being an iconoclast, a rebel. I get a sense with the two of these together, social influencers, people who really want to push the envelope, either in terms of art and drama or in terms of politics or social expression or something like that. You're certainly not someone who is wanting or really set for a conventional job. And if you are in, and what I mean by conventional is more like being in an organisation and doing a particular stream of work and so forth, you're someone, if you are in that, you're a change maker within that. You're the ideas person, you're the innovator, you're quite dramatic, and you know how to sell an idea very well with the retail. Now, some of you might literally be in retail. So the energy around this is someone who's a trailblazer who changes things if that's the case. You're not, again, just someone who is doing a sort of customer service role or whatever you are. That would be too much for you of a straitjacket. You would want to always be looking at the new and innovative way of doing something. So in a way, it's like the Jeff Bezos energy back when Amazon was just an idea in his head. It's that kind of feeling around it. It's that understanding of how to market yourself or market others. So it literally could be marketing yourself in a very in-your-face, different, innovative way of performing or entertaining people in some way, or it could be that kind of energy, that drama, that sense of the new is something that you can sell within your career and whatever that is and whatever you do. Now, the interesting thing for you at the moment is around finances. You may have been feeling a little bit unclear about where you stand. This rebellious energy, you may in fact be have been going through a period of time of working out, do you fit where you are? So I feel like people in pile 2, if you are, as I say, in what we would think of as a more conventional organisational role, and it's not one where you can be rebellious and different and innovative, then you may be trying to make up your mind whether or not it's the financial recompense you're getting at the moment is worth the sort of restriction that you have. On the other hand, you may have an idea that you want to take forward, either in your own business or in an organisation, and it's not clear yet whether the money's there. You kind of know it's a great idea. You've got everything in your kit bag in terms of charisma to take it forward and a good sales plan, but it's not yet clear whether the seed funding is there for it. If so, this does suggest money will come to you. It's saying you're a little bit unclear and worried about money at the moment, but the universe is going to provide. And part of it is because you are actually generating a lot of energy, a lot of innovation, a lot of passion and creativity in some way around what you're doing. So this is a sense that in between October to December, you are likely to come up above the surface and be seen by someone that seed funding is available. It's also, if you actually relate to that side of things, that you have a product or yourself as a product that you want to market in some way, and you are looking for something like seed funding, you have something, it's somebody who could go on Kickstarter or something like that, there is a very good sense that if you did that, you move from that lack of clarity to a sense of offering. So there's something, and as I say, if you are in what is a more conventional role, then there is something in you that wants to be innovative and creative in that, and there is a sense here that you will have an opportunity to do that. But it's about selling you and your ideas. There's something very intrinsically about you with all of this. And money flows from that, and offerings flow from that. It's not, you just don't feel conventional. So let's use tarot, and we'll ask Spirit to give us a little bit of an idea about some of the energies through October to end of December for you, because it just looks like you're on the precipice of something, pile 2. And it actually looks very positive at this point, but let's see what Spirit has to say about some of the more specifics about it. Okay, so there's a couple of things around this for a start. It does suggest here with mission statement reverse, mission statement is like the Hermit in normal tarot. So reverse suggests that you have to come out from behind the scenes. I had that sense of you coming up above the surface and being seen. It is saying that needs to occur in this period of time. If you have an idea, if you have a concept, or if you're just wanting to push your own presence and your own self forward, you are to get to the point where the energy comes through, you're going to need to do that. And you are a little bit unclear because there's competition around you. So again, this has a feeling like if you're an entertainer, literally, it might be, like I need to go to more auditions, but gee, there's competition. Can I meet that competition? And Spirit is saying here with brand VP, which is that's like cups. So that's like the Queen of Cups, that part of your issue that you have to deal with and work through is how to be true to yourself, because with it reversed, you might suppress some of yourself to win the competition or to do what you think would win the competition. But I think Spirit is saying that's not the way to do it. You actually need to come out more as you are. It's what's unique about you that is going to help you. Then when that occurs, and I do think there's going to be an opportunity along these lines, there's a couple of things that you need to think about. One is we've got due diligence and legal. If you are looking at something where you could be offered a contract, really, really, really check the fine print on it, because that there is something very new about what you want to do. This is sort of someone who's an innovator. You want to make sure you protect your IP. You want to make sure that you are getting the proper recompense for something. If you're offered a job and it gives you an opportunity to be more of who you are, because it looks like maybe you've suppressed that a bit, then make sure that the reality of it does give you what you want. This is about moving from a lack of clarity into understanding the offering and bringing the right offering to you. I think it's also saying really look at yourself. Like in terms of the marketing side of things, like what are the details around that? It's wonderful to have a grand creative image and a grand creative vision, but you also need to have the details and understand how that's going to work in the business world or in your career, in whatever that is. And if you need to, then get help. There is a service side to retail, so if you need to, get professional help. With the due diligence card, which is effectively like an audit card and that kind of sense around things, there's something about what you have to do. You really need to look at yourself and neither underestimate yourself nor overestimate yourself. You have a lot of capacity to deal with. This is not a lot of competition and conflict. You could actually really move forward quite quickly. If you're worried about competition, you're ahead of most in what you're doing. But it's very, very important for you to be clear about what you're doing and to understand it yourself, to understand the strengths and also where there's weakness. There's a sense about people who are very creatively successful work from both those. They understand what their strengths are and they understand what their weaknesses are, and they balance those out to have a sustainable outcome. And your rebellious nature might sometimes just want to jump straight into it, but I think Spirit is very much saying really understand yourself, because you are going to start to bring in more and more opportunity, and the more that you come out and are true to yourself, but understand yourself. It feels like if there's anything that you want to keep secret about yourself, then make sure that you've prepared the way to do that, for instance. Like I do get a sense for some of you that you may literally be on the world stage or entertainers or something like that. So if there's anything like that, then make sure that you're legally covered as well. So let's ask Spirit for a little bit more information and advice and clarification for these cards during October through to December. Okay, I think part of what this is clarifying for us, pile 2, is that you are, if you're in an organisation or you're working with others, you still very much need to be clear on who you are, and you need some space for yourself. You do need to come out from behind the shadows, but you also need space for yourself, and some of that's the legal stuff, because there is a sense here that to the degree that you need to work with others, it's not the surest foundation. The thing that's really going to bring about your blessing, which is the money ace here, which is like the Ace of Pentacles, is your difference, what's different and new about you, and the capacity to make that very material and very real. But it does look like if you relied on others, then you may find that they let you down, or that it moves slowly, or you pick up some of this competition over here. The other thing that Spirit is saying too is that because you're so quick and you are naturally so adept at whatever this is, and you are really innovative and you are really creative, you sometimes cut corners. And that could come, if you bring yourself out into the world, you don't want to cut corners. The money 8 is like the 8 of Pentacles, and the 8 of Pentacles, when it's the right way up, is someone who's really developed their craft and they really have everything prepared. So with these together, it may say that what you have is very new, and that you also don't necessarily yet have the full foundation for it. So that's why it's important to get all the information and to really understand it in yourself. And here we have the data director, which is like the King of Swords. So that sense of like really understanding the information and the balance and the legality of things and so forth. So bringing all that together, I think it says that you're really going to be someone always who is standing on their own 2 feet and innovative, ahead of the curve, but you do need to be as honest as possible with yourself and really work out, is there anywhere where I need to build my skills or get my foundations a bit better, because I can't rely on other people to do it. I need to do it myself. Then I can actually get the benefit and the blessing of the money ace, the Ace of Pentacles. If this is moving into a new job, if you are looking for a new job, I think you will get one. But again, it's like, make sure that anything in terms of the skills that you have, that you build them yourself, because maybe the team is not to be fully relied upon if that's the case. So it's a thing about, you have so much to offer, pile 2, and you are so clever that you do sometimes rush things and you do sometimes cut corners and so forth. And you really got to be just as keen on fully understanding what you're doing and really at a depth level, like really analysing it, because then you're going to be able to get the best out of this. There is definitely something coming for you, and you are definitely moving from a lack of clarity into something more clear, but it's got to do with you, and there's something about you, that means that you need to back yourself and really understand yourself, because if there is going to be any competition or issues, it's in not fully understanding that you could have an issue. So I think Spirit wants you to make the best out of this, wants you to really succeed, and wants you to think about that. So let's have a look at what other oracle cards were under the crystal. Okay, so you've got a couple of goddesses. So you've got some pretty strong energy with you, pile 2. First, we've got Sarasvati, goddess of art, music, knowledge, and eloquence. So I think that picks up all these things. Some of you may literally be entertainers. If that's the case, then you would probably have a wonderful singing voice, speaking voice, way of communicating, and so forth. You're very eloquent. You're very much able to market yourself. That is going to really start to pay off for you. So that's good. But it is also about knowledge. So don't forget that bit. You know, if you're very precocious and very talented, also work on the craft of whatever it is, because that will only do you good. That will only help you more. Then you have Freya, the warrior goddess of strength, passion, and magic. So your passion and your innovation and all that fiery energy I get around you is there. There is magic. There is strength. And I think she is there because I do think there is something about this that says that you really have to stand on your own 2 feet rather than be working with, I mean, you may well work with others, but you're still going to have to be able to stand separate and stand on your own if necessary, because there's something very different about you. Let's have a look at some astrological energy for you. Okay. So this is very much about career and about money and making money in this period of time. There is a real, I think with the 6th house there, that is the house of day-to-day work. Some of you may be in a more conventional thing and you're going to have to find the way to be yourself within a more conventional thing. But having said that, it will make you money if that's the case. The 6th house is also about service to others. So possibly some of what you need to look at in the craft and the skills and so forth is how what you are doing will help others. And the more that you do that, the more that you're unlocking the goddess energy and that sort of support for you. The planet for the 6th house is Mercury, so communication is very much connected to it. So that eloquence, again, is really going to help you. The 2nd house is all about your possessions and about what you value and so forth. The planet there is Venus. So for some of you, there's a great deal around love and caring. If you are, again, an entertainer, you could be a great songwriter of love songs or a script writer of rom-coms or something. There's that kind of energy around this too. And loving what you do is important with that energy as well too. The more that you love what you do, the more you're going to bring in what you need. And it's certainly together suggesting if any of you with this sort of personality and this sort of talent, if you are in a role that doesn't allow you to do that, then you're not going to fully manifest what you want because you're not loving what you're doing. So you need to love what you do and then put it in service to others in some way. And that's what you need to do to bring this offer in. So before I close out with another oracle a bit like this to show the energy at the end of the period, I'm also going to use a Lenormand pack, which is more like a classic fortune telling pack. So I just want to see what sort of fortune energy is around you during this period of time. So okay. So firstly, you've got Clover. I'm going to go to that first. That's a very strong good luck sign. So there's a lot of, this offering is here. You're coming into a lucky period. You're coming into a period of opportunity, but it's also a period of choice because you have paths. So you'll have choices that are associated with this. And that's why it's important to be ready to really know what you want to do with it. There is also a sense of great stability around what you can move into now with the house there. There is a sense that, and a sense of belonging, a sense of this is being at home with yourself. So that's important. But overarching, there's the sense with the Clover that is such a strong and positive energy that it pretty much overrides most other things. The challenge for you, pile 2, in this period of time is that you are moving into a lucky cycle. So how you know yourself at the very best way to be true to yourself to make the right decisions. So let's close out with energy around at the end of this period of time. If you've taken Spirit's advice, you've really thought about working on yourself, being clear about what you want to do, how you deal with the offerings that are coming to you and so forth, and how you build a career or an approach that will bring your manifestation in, bring your money in, and also be true to yourself in your very unique manner. What are we looking like at the end of December, Spirit, for pile 2? Okay, so this is saying, and I think this will be the case with most readings, because 3 months is a sort of period of time to start to really move into something, but not to fully have flowered it. But we've got the sort of like energy still around being clear and making sure that you've done the work you need to do to make the most out of this. And where that is, that there could have been some lack of sort of financial support or whatever, whether or not you had the money that you need. So it may not have fully manifested by the end of this period of time, though that energy is still coming. And we've got anchor over here, which says money blocks being stuck, but financially sound. So again, there's not a feeling you're going to be financially in difficult financial straits. It's that you have to unblock this energy so that you can actually let this other energy through. And then in the middle, we have all the sort of stuff that is repeating this particular message. So you have the capacity to overcome obstacles with the crown, and you can have the capacity for wealth. But interesting, there is a bit of a power play, so that's picking up this. You're not wrong that there's some competition around you. So you're going to have to take your own sovereignty with this. This says life purpose, more than money, spiritual wealth. So that's saying there's a spiritual connection. That's the 6th house. That's where service to others and something bigger than yourself is part of this. That's part of what you have to think about, because as I say, you are so fiery in your energy and so ambitious. And talking about fire, we have the candle. So we have ambition, taking action, manifesting money. So in terms of money and monetary things, you have everything you need to do it, but you're going to be stuck a little bit until Spirit's saying you do the work to really understand what your choices are and to recognize the best offering when it comes. And then you've got to be prepared to come out and stand in that truth and stand on your own 2 feet. The sort of career energy in these cards we're picking up is everything from healing or possibly not working, though I think most of you probably are, unless maybe you're an entertainer and it comes and goes depending upon auditions, through to being the boss of a business, and you could very well be with that, as I say, that kind of Jeff Bezos energy. Counselling, divine, spiritual sort of work. You potentially could have a business in spiritual areas. And management, visibility. So visibility is part of this. It's saying it again. You do need to sort of step out and be seen and be prepared to take a leadership role in one form or another. The anchor is also saying some of you may be involved in water-related or travel-based work as well. So, but I do think with most of you, this is more around something very innovative, new, entertaining, dramatic, and that has some sort of spiritual grounding, and that allows you to take that sort of more lone wolf leadership sort of role. And once you do that, you unstick yourself, because the lack of clarity, pile 2, is not about what the material world can give you, because the material world's ready to give you something. It's how you stay true to yourself, but you also do the work on yourself that's necessary to manifest this at its best ability. So I hope that resonates for you, pile 2, and I hope it's helpful over October to December, because I do think that you will have some opportunities coming to you. And I think if you do this work, you'll be able to unblock this. But I think Spirit is saying, it might be into 2022 before you do it, because if you haven't done the work, then you'll probably be stopped until you're ready to really step into it. So the quicker you do the work on yourself and you understand really what you want to do in the world and how you can be true to yourself, the quicker you're going to get to that. So believe in yourself, work on your craft, work on your ideas, think about all the details in it, get really, really clear on that, and that will unblock this energy and bring through this great promise that I think this reading shows you. So I hope you enjoyed that reading, and I hope it's helpful. If so, please like the video and subscribe. And if you have any comments on this, I'd be fascinated to hear about it in the comments below. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, pile 3, to your reading. These cards were amongst the other oracle cards that were under the crystal that you chose to come to this reading. And as I said in the beginning, they're meant to give a sense about the overarching energies that you are experiencing around career and finance as we come into the sort of October to December period in 2021. It'll help make sure if this feels right, whether you found the right reading and whether the sort of energies sound about right, that we can then build on with the rest of the reading. Looking at these, the first thing that I get really strongly is that I feel that you are someone who helps people a lot. You are someone who is maybe, working in motivational work or is a natural motivator. You are someone who's also naturally very good at change and potentially even advising people on things like investments, where to put their energy, their career, whatever it might be. But it almost looks like you need to let someone else do for you what you do for other people. You are in a relatively good position by the looks of things. But it is saying that maybe you've had some concerns about finances recently. I mean, on one level, your investment methodology, the way that you're using your money, even your basic finances look okay. And it does look like you could build more. But it looks like you need to ask for help or ask for guidance on that on some level. Even if you're someone who's in financial investment as a career, maybe you just need a different perspective and somebody else's idea about what to do. It might also be here with charity that you spend a lot of time helping others, as I say, and supporting them. And maybe it's like applying your own way of doing things to yourself. It's not that there is anything really bad to deal with. It's that to take advantage of this change energy, because what it's saying, the change energy here is saying that there's a change for the better happening. It's like under all the snow, the new life is starting to grow. And you may not see it at the moment. You might have felt in some way that for all that you believe in manifestation, you motivate others, you understand investment, you understand business, you understand your career in whatever way it is, and you've done a lot to help others, it just feels a bit stuck. It feels like the energy's felt stuck. And this is saying that there is a really good opportunity, really good sort of movement for you coming, but it may require you to look at things differently or to ask for the help of someone else. So if you're in a career and you felt a bit stuck in the organisation, it maybe find a mentor who can then really recognise all the stuff that you can bring to the table. If you are in some form of financial investment, as I say, it might be getting a different perspective, talking to different people about different models of financial growth and so forth. If you've spent a lot of your time literally working in charity, not-for-profits or something like that, there may be an opportunity to move into something else that gives you more remuneration and financial growth, but it will require you to make the connections to do that. The sorts of careers that could be here, as I say, could be something like anything in the financial services industry, anything in the motivational, influencing, lobbying, mentoring area, anything in not-for-profit or humanitarian work and so forth, social justice. So those sorts of careers are naturals for someone like you. But as I say, it's like there is going to be something, there's an opportunity coming up, and I feel like it's coming up during this 3-month period. It's already in the works, but it's under the snow, if that makes sense, pile 3. And to be able to fully take advantage of that, you will need other advice or other input from people, other support, as I say, mentors, advisors, whatever it is. But it's really allowing others to do for you what you do for others naturally, and also potentially as part of your career. So that's pretty positive. So let's have a look and see. Let's ask Spirit, the Tarot, to tell us a little bit more about the energies around for you in this 3-month period. Okay, so firstly, it's very much confirming that there's some really good financial growth opportunities for you, because you've got Money 10, which is like the 10 of Pentacles. And not only are they good growth opportunities, but they're likely to be very stable. So again, it's saying this is not an issue about your financial stability. This is an issue about growth. This is a period for growth. But it is certainly saying that you maybe have not been paying as much attention as you needed to around some of the details of whatever this is, around, and particularly around sort of legal or regulatory types of issues. So if you are looking at an investment, then make sure that that side of things, that you're looking into the right sorts of businesses, right sorts of investments, and that they are they would pass muster with any kind of legal or regulatory thing. If it's not as literal as legal and on that level, it just is about details. And that might be why it's saying you need the help, you need a different perspective on this. You need to come out of yourself around that. I don't think you generally need to come out from behind the scenes. I think you are generally someone who does. You are very much seen by people. You're a motivator. There's a lot of energy and so forth. But you have to sort of come out from that role in a way into a role where you get more information. And this is saying that you can do that, that you can get that information. And then when you do it, you can actually make some very quick decisions, because the data manager is a bit like the Knight of Swords. And the Knight of Swords moves very quickly, thinks very quickly, can make decisions very quickly, deals very well with change, and surprises people sometimes. And you may surprise people a bit, because brand 8 is like the 8 of Cups. So there may be some things that you move away from. There may be some things that you supported that you can no longer support because you need to put your energy somewhere else. You may leave a workplace for a much better paid thing. Like literally, you may move away from a workplace where you were very much about giving to others and one that is actually more about building for you. And you may surprise people with that. But I think Spirit is saying that's fine. If you surprise people, as long as you've done the due diligence in a way, and you've got this assistance that you need, this is the change that you're meant to be making. You're meant to be taking things to another level. So let's get a little bit more advice and clarification from the tarot, from Spirit for you. Okay, so Spirit is saying that whatever this change is, it's not going to take you away from what you really care about. So you'll be moving away from what is no longer working for you, but you still stay true to what has always been your ethics, who you are, and you are someone who likes to help people. You are someone with an extremely good heart, and that's not going to change it. What will happen is it looks like you get more of a foundation to really do something. So it has a feeling like someone, as I say, who could have been in a small not-for-profit that moves into a larger one, for instance, and actually then has more resources and capacity to do the sort of work that you want to do, for instance. If you're in a business of your own, it's from moving from a sort of smaller base to having the right connections, the right team around you, the right collaborators, and there's definitely a sense of a benefactor in some way, somebody who not only will help, I think, with ideas and approaches and motivation, but is likely to help with money as well. If you're looking for seed funding, or they're likely to move you towards a promotion or bring you into a new job, there's definitely that sort of sense around you. Now, the issue that you'll have to deal with is there's a part of you that doesn't like to head into conflict. It likes to avoid conflict. And it may be with these cards, I have to say, that there could be, if you're moving from an organisation to another, that it could be a bit of bad blood when you go. There's a sense of someone quite critical over here of you, someone who maybe doesn't approve of maybe what appears to be a material decision, may think that you should be someone who's always about other people. I think Spirit is saying you need to let that go. It may even be a family connection, in fact. There could be a family belief in what you should be doing with your talents and so forth, and what you're doing with it is right for your growth, but may bring some critique, particularly with those two cards connected. But this is saying that you can still stay true to that. You can deal with that energy if that's coming, but you've got to be prepared to have that sort of battle. And if it is a battle around moving on and legally, it will come out fine, but you need to be prepared to do that, because that allows this energy. So there's something coming for you, pile 3. There's an offer, there's an opportunity, but to fully do it and to navigate the shift from where you are now into this growth period, you are going to need the advice or help of others, and you are going to need to turn a blind eye to those who want to hold you back on some level. So let's have a look at what oracle cards were around you for this period of time. Yeah, you're definitely letting something go to let something else in. We've got last quarter here, release. You are definitely meant to be letting something go, and I think it's a sense of obligation to others, and to then move into the change and so forth, and motivate yourself as much as you motivated others. It's why I had a sense right at the beginning that it's like if you were talking to someone else about this that you were helping, you would tell them to do exactly what the cards are telling you to do. So not to feel guilty about this and not to be held back in any way. You are meant to release something. You're meant to be moving into something new. And with White Tara, the Mother Creator, that's the goddess of peace and protection. It's saying, don't worry if there is a little bit of white noise around this. It will be fine. You are moving in the right direction and you will be protected. So let's have a look at some of the astrological energy for you. Okay. So then here, of course, we had the last quarter, release moon, and here we've got the waning gibbous, which has a sense of the calm after the storm. So I do think it is saying that, yes, some people will try and push back. Some people will not want you to shift what you're doing at the moment because it suits them, to shift to what will actually help you more. But the reality is you can move and you can do that. And then when you do that, you bring in the transformative energy, you bring the sharing, you bring in the collaboration, all of the things that the waning gibbous moon can provide. We also have Leo. At its base, the tarot card for Leo is strength. So again, it's saying you have the strength and the protection to do what you need to do. The celestial body for that is the sun. The sun in astrology is our life path. So this is about following your life path. Don't let other people tell you your life path was something else. Your life path is what you want it to be, what you feel the calling to do. You may be Leo or have Leo strong in your chart. It may be picking up on energies when Leo was in earlier this year. So you might have felt a lot around the Lionsgate portal, for instance, or that sort of energy might have started to give birth to whatever this was. So look back to that period of time, or even look forward to when Leo occurs next year, because that may give you a timing cycle for when some of this really comes into being. So let's have a look at some fortune energy as well around you. So this is using a Lenormand deck, which is more like a classic fortune telling energy. So I just want to see what that has for you during this period of time, October through to the end of December 2021, pile 3. Okay. So the good news, firstly, we have clouds and the clouds are the darker clouds are moving away if we're moving forward. You're moving into this. This is the calm after the storm. There's definitely, if it hasn't already happened, as you go through taking it, there is going to be some drama. If you go through taking the opportunity, there are going to be people that push back, but you will move through it. For some of you, there really is a family connection in this. We've got the child here. There's a sense of connection to family there. There's a connection of what family wants you to do. They could even be you. It's also something new. So it's a good omen for something new, so the change, but I do think there may be some of the pressure might be family pressure on you, I feel. And when pressure is brought, it's pretty heavy, the pressure that's brought. But again, you're moving out of it. So just let it go through. Just let it pass, move on. People will see, if that's the case in the end, that what you've moved to is much more solid and much more good for everybody, all concerned and so forth. It's also suggesting that whatever it is that you're bringing in that's new is very big. Because the bear is about things that are big change and so forth. So there's a lot of potential for this. Like, don't underestimate it. It is very, very, very positive energy. It's just not to feel that you're letting people down or anything like that. That as I say, you take the advice that you would give to someone else. So let's presume you do take the advice, pile 3, and let's have a look with another deck that's a little bit like this first one, about the closing out energy at the end of December. And remember, we're only talking about a 3-month period, and so particularly for big change, it's probably just going through the process of realising it and bringing it to being. But let's just ask for a little bit more energy for pile 3 around what the end of this period is looking like for career and finance. Okay, there's a lot of interesting energy around you around here. It looks to me like you've really started to see what it could be. It hasn't fully manifest yet, and there's a little bit of fluctuation and change. And the reason I say that was we're almost getting a kind of a changing energy all the way through. We start with treasure, worry-free finances, money in reserve, excess. Again, that suggests that you are not going to be going through a difficult period financially. This is not about the difference between having money in your bank account and not. This is about how you use money that you have and so forth. But then it has fleeting funds, unknown source, being guided. So there is that sense of needing the guidance. But so it looks as though this outcome, which I think you get to, which is the Ten of Pentacles, doesn't happen instantly. It's like it builds over time. And maybe there's a fluctuation around money for you. But then we get abundance, easy money, divine intervention. And then we get manifesting money, reaching goals, financial assistance, so asking for help. But then we have butterfly, sudden change, frivolous spending, short-term loan. So I think because that's come there, I do keep getting the sense, like either from family or maybe from friends, there are people who will want to rely on you financially. So be careful about where you put your resources on that level. I don't think it's a major impact to your overall bank account feeling secure. But there could be some demands on you that make that fluctuate a bit over this period of time, and that make it a little bit hard to be fully able to focus on the change. In terms of career energy around it, we have anything kind of executive, sales, hidden talents that you can use. We have potentially odd jobs or whatever. So it may be that you leave one place and then you do something a bit different for a while, and then you find the longer term thing. We have air-related, travel-related work you could be connected with. This could also be asking for help to get the right job, the mentor and so forth. And this is arts, movement and fun work and so forth, though I think that's less likely to be where you are. You feel much more like someone who has quite a bit of heft of what you do, and you've been very good at motivating others and so forth. And when you step into this, then it's much more likely, I think, to be around the executive or the hidden talents or the business of your own or something like that than anything else. But it is suggesting for some of pile 3, there's some changeability around this, not drastic changeability, while you're allowing this energy to grow and build, and also while you're deflecting anybody who wants to hold you back. So pile 3, I think this is actually a very, very positive period for you, but I think it's a little bit of a difficult period for you in the sense that I think you're so used to helping others and so used to meeting everybody's expectations, and this opportunity that's coming for you to fully land it and to fully have it, you have to own your own career and your own expectations and your own outcomes. And there will be a bit of pushback, I think, but there will also be help. There will also be the right connections. So always pay attention to that, and always remember this is exactly the advice you'd give someone else around this. And if that's the case, and if there are periods of time where it's a little bit more sort of paycheck to paycheck, or you're not working for a while, just be careful with your money over that, because overall you're moving into a very good financial period of time. And I think in 2022 that's when it will really blossom. But the concept of this, the offer for this, the idea about what else you could do in your life beyond what you're doing at the moment, this is being born in this period of time, and take it seriously, because it really will take you very far. And I think many of you could be very wealthy coming out of this in the longer term. So I hope that that's helpful to you. I think it's, as I say, overall good news. Really do back yourself here, pile 3. I hope you enjoyed the reading, and if so, please like the video and subscribe. And if you know what this is, you have a sense of it, or what you have to push back so that you can allow yourself to take this on, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear about that. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings.